All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're exploring a story that begins with a really simple but deeply unsettling idea. Forget about your typical ghosts or monsters. We're going to talk about something way more intimate and, in a way, much more real. We're talking about the room that breathes. And this is the line that kicks the whole thing off. It's an incredible hook, isn't it? There's no scream, no shadowy figure, just a biological function happening where it has no business being. This one sentence creates a mystery that feels both completely impossible and somehow natural. So that brings us right to the heart of it.
A breathing room. I mean, how does a house, an object made of wood and nails, take on the most basic sign of life?
Well, the story doesn't just leave it at that. It gets very specific about the kind of breath our main character, Evan, keeps hearing at night. It's described as long. Indeed. But here's the detail that changes everything. It was also a little tired. Now, that's not the heavy breathing of some monster waiting to pounce. No, this is the sound of total exhaustion, of something that has been going on for a very, very long time. So who's the guy hearing all this? Let's meet Evan. He's not a ghost hunter. He's not looking for trouble. The story calls him a simple man, someone who listens way more than he talks and couldn't care less about local gossip. And that's what makes him perfect for this story. He's not looking for a haunting. He's just trying to live his life, and the haunting finds him. So one night, he finally works up the courage to go over to the wall of that room and press his ear against it. He's probably expecting to hear nothing, just the normal creaks and groans of an old house. But what he hears, it confirms everything. The undeniable sound of something huge inhaling and then slowly exhaling. And this moment right here is the major turning point of the whole story. It's where we get to our next section. Not fear, pity. Because how Evan reacts, it's the last thing you'd expect. Think about any horror movie you've ever seen. This is the part where the main character runs for their life, right? They scream, they call for help. But Evan, he does the complete opposite. He just listens. And instead of being terrified, he feels pity. He actually starts to empathize with whatever is making that sound. So why pity? Well, because the sound wasn't aggressive. It wasn't monstrous. It just sounded tired. It sounded sad. It was like some old, forgotten thing crying out for help in the only way it knew how, just by breathing. So this feeling of empathy drives Evan to do what nobody else would have dared to do. He decides to open the door. And that brings us to the truth behind the walls. He opens the door, bracing for whatever's inside. And what does he find? Well, you're looking at it. Absolutely nothing. No spooky furniture, no weird objects, no bloodstains, no claw marks on the walls. The horror here isn't something you can see. It's just a profound emptiness, a complete silence. But as soon as he steps inside, he gets hit with a feeling. It's like he can smell an old, deep sadness in the air. And when he reaches out and touches the wall, it's warm. Not cold and dead like you'd expect. It's warm, like there's still a life force clinging to it somehow. And that's when it happens. It's not a voice that he hears with his ears. It's more like a thought, a pure feeling that just appears in his mind. It's the essence of some lonely, broken consciousness that's been trapped in the house, and all it's saying is, I am still here. So Evan realizes, this isn't something you fight. This isn't a demon you exorcise. It's something wounded, something that needs to be healed, which leads us perfectly into our next section, healing with silence. And what Evan does is just so beautifully simple. He gets that the room isn't evil, it's just incredibly lonely. So he starts sitting in there with it every single day, just offering his quiet company. It's like a kind of therapy. And slowly his presence starts to calm that heavy, labored breathing. Until one night, the room takes one last, deep, final breath, and then for the first time, it's quiet. The next morning, the change is real. You can feel it. The entire house is different. The air feels clear. Sunlight is just pouring in like it never could before, and the whole place feels physically and emotionally lighter, like a massive weight has finally been lifted. So, what's the big takeaway from this really quiet, kind of haunting story? Well, that brings us to our final section, the voice of pain. This story really asks us to rethink what we call a haunting. It suggests that maybe, sometimes, the thing that we think is scary is actually just old, deep pain. A pain that's been ignored for so long that it's taken on a life of its own. It's not trying to scare us, it's just begging to finally be heard. And it leaves us with this poignant, unforgettable final thought that the places we live in, our homes, they can actually absorb the emotions we leave behind. They can hold on to our sadness and our loneliness so tightly that they themselves start to breathe with the weight of it all. And that leaves us with one last question to think about. If this story teaches us anything, it's to listen beyond our first instinct of fear, to try and find the humanity in the haunting. So, it's worth asking ourselves, in our own lives, what is the silence around us trying to say? If only we'd stop for a moment to really listen.